Hey campers, George here, back in the man cave. Been a busy week. The girls were in town, they came up to visit for a week with my older sister. Yep, 3 girls, Mary and I, all in the cottage. It was a good time, a little crowded, but it was good to see my kids, and I haven't seen my elder sister in quite a while, and that was a good thing. But we're back in the man cave finally, and I got some time to go through some stuff. I've been looking at saws. I own 1 or 2 and I've never really looked into saws. There's a lot of them out there. You have a wide choice to look at. And what I'm talking about is a typical folding handsaw. The kinds you use in the garden for trimming trees, pruning, that sort of thing. There's all different kinds. We've all seen the working saws, the hacksaws, for metal, for wood, you name it. There's a saw for everything. In the outdoors, typically, we're looking at your everyday wood saw out there. Well, what saw do you use? If you don't have a saw, you need to get one. They are really handy to have. I use mine all the time, although we use them for just about everything. Mary's back. Say hi. Yeah, like I said, we had a busy week and she's recovering from having so many people in the house. She's been sleeping since everybody left. So while I was looking up saws and just trying to find some general information about them, I came across another one. Yep, a folding handsaw. That seems to be the common trend in what we're doing in the outdoors. They're small, they're compact, they're typically not that heavy and easy to use, and most of them do a pretty good job. I was researching saws, just reading up about them, just looking for some general information. I came across a saw. I'll have a look at it. Let's see what it's about. One of the reasons is it had 2 blades, and they were different, so I wanted to have a look at them and see what the difference is between those 2 blades. What I'm talking about is this guy from Gerber. This is the exchanger blade folding saw. They just refer to it as the Gerber exchanger blade saw, multi-blade saw. You can see it comes in its regular packaging, typical for Gerber. Got my attention, got it, and I thought, hey, let's check it out. So here it is here in the packaging. You can see it's just a regular folding saw type. A little bit different simply because they offer 2 blades with it. It's the exchanger blade saw, multi-blade saw. That's what they refer to it as. And they say it, I love this, it has a waffle grip. Don't know what that is. It does come with a sheath. And like I said, there are 2 blades. They give you some a very basic instruction here on how to exchange the blades, and on the back there is the sheath. So I'm going to open it up quickly. Let's check it out. Keeping with the theme of the video, I got my Gerber here, this little guy here. I really like this knife. It's nice and handy to have around, not too big, not too small, and it's sharp. So here I have it here. You can see it there. And nothing fancy on it. Only place it says Gerber is actually on the blades, nowhere else, not on the handle. Not sure what they mean by that special handle. I don't know if they're referring to the fact that it's a special kind of grip. They call it a waffle grip. And looking at it here, if you look closely there, it's just got like a whole lot of, looks like hieroglyphics on here. And it obviously it's got some grip. The saw, how it comes out, I assume you're going to press there you go. So as you can see on here, it has this little button there, and it has a tightener here, which I assume you use to exchange the blade. That was the thing that concerned me, and that's something I want to look at. But to open it, obviously, you're going to press this button. It does have the Gerber symbol on it there. I'm going to push that in, and that didn't work. How does this come apart? Interesting. Oh, it is. It's just sticking. This is not a good start. It was catching. It was catching in there. So you press it, out comes, and it pops out. There's no other latches except that one. Now I'm looking at this, and it was a little wobbly. Can you see that? There's a lot of play in it there. This is not impressing me. I've tightened that screw up. I wonder how tight you need to get that screw. It still moves. Can you hear it? That's not a good start. But the blade certainly looks pretty healthy. You can see it there. Just looking at it, the teeth, if you look at the teeth on the blade, they are kind of facing a little backwards, and we'll get into that when we look at some of the info I found out about saws. It's slightly curved on the top. Some of the specs on it, the blade length, 7.1 inches on the blade. So it's typical for a hand saw. I do own a couple. This is probably a little bit longer. So hopefully you can tackle something a little bit bigger than your average 3 to 4 inches that they recommend on a lot of the folding hand saws that are used in the garden for pruning and that, and the ones we use those very same saws in the outdoors. So I haven't looked at the other blade yet. This looks like a more coarser blade, so it's going to give you a rougher cut, and the cut won't be as clean. But like I said, we'll get into that. And on there it does say Gerber, and you have the symbol there. It has this screw thing here, which I assume is to change the blade. So here you can see it here, and it has that waffle handle. It's just a plastic handle, I'm assuming. The weight, 10.4 ounces. Total length checker here, and I'm going to say about 14 inches total. So they said the blade was 7, so you handle 7. Obviously the blade folds in there, and it has to fit in there, so it's going to be roughly the same size. This is with this blade. I'm not sure about the other blade. I'm going to look at that right now. Just want to go through these specs with you. They refer to the 2 blades that come with it. One is a coarse, which they say is for wood, and then the fine tooth would be for bone. So they're obviously targeting hunting. Coarse, let's check out the fine blade. So let's have a look at the other blade. Let me see if I can get it out here. It's in the back of the package with the sheath. So I've got the sheath out, and here's the sheath here. It's just that the second blade. And right off the bat, I can see that this definitely is the fine blade. And so here's the second blade. And like I said, if you look at the teeth, I'll put them together here like that. You can certainly see the difference. Deeper, and as you can see, there's less teeth per inch. Let's see how we change the blades. I like the idea of changing the blades and having those 2 options without having to carry 2 different saws. So what I'm doing is I'm unscrewing this here. Now it has the thumb edging on the side here, so you can just unscrew it by hand. It does have a flat screwdriver slot here, I assume. It's not a very deep slot, but oh wow, the blade just came out there. Obviously the blades are sitting in there, and I'm going to put the fine blade in. I want to see how that looks. Now I'm going to slide this in the slot here, and I'm going to put this back in. Just screw it back in. You want to line it up. There is you can see the hole in the blade here. Obviously they're all lined up, and I'm going to tighten it as best I can with my hand. And same thing. Can you hear that? It does move slightly. Most of the saws out there don't have that much movement in them. The blades flex a bit, but you know, they all do, and you've got to be careful. Once again, we look at the teeth, and if you look closely at them, they are facing that way, towards the handle. The fine blade, and you saw the coarse blade. The fine blade, they're saying, is for bone work, to cut bone, and then your coarse blade here would be for wood. So it does have multiple uses. You can prep your fire and things like that and do what you do when you're out doing your hunting thing. I assume this is what it's targeted for. And then you get your game and you have to prep it so that you can carry it out if you walked in or whatever. To be honest, I see nothing wrong with the blades, okay? I have no problem with the blades. I think that they are fine. This is bothering me. It feels very flimsy. It doesn't look solid at all. When you compare it to another saw, this is a saw I bought at a hardware store, and it's the steel. I believe it's the PS10, and it has a way of locking their blades and that, and it is just a one blade thing. You can get replacement blades, and I'm pretty sure they will offer different style blades on it. The way it locks in here, it's pretty unique. It goes into that little slot up here, and this pulls back and it holds the saw. Now the saw, there's no movement. It holds it in there well. And I've used this out in the South 40 to do some pruning on the trees back there. I'm about to do that again. So I thought, let me have a look at a saw, and it would be a good time to test the saw that I'm going to show you and see how it does. So, steel, PS10, and if you look on the blade there, it says pull. You see that? Pull. Okay? You look at the teeth, they're facing slightly that way. And that means it's a pull cut. Same as this. This is a pull saw. It cuts into the wood or the bone when you pull back on it. That's the difference between a push and a pull saw. Here I have probably the best folding saw I own, and this is the Bucko. Everybody has heard of Bucko. Very popular. This is a great hand saw, and you have a press button there and it just pops out and it's solid in there. Don't move. If you look at all the blades on these saws, they are basically the same thickness in that. I will say that the Bucko is a little bit thicker, and you can see the length difference here on them. A little bit longer on the Bucko. A great saw. We're looking at Gerber here, and I got to tell you, honestly, I don't think it's going to work for me. And the only way I'm going to find that out is to try it out. So we will be doing some cutting and sawing and good stuff out there, playing with a sharp and shiny. So, like I said, I wanted to know more about saws. When I start getting interested in something, I want to learn a little bit more about it. I just don't want to get one and go use it. I want to know how it came about and why it is the way it is. Well, I did that, with saws. I'm looking at saws now. And like I said, I own a few. I have a couple of small hand folding saws. I have, this type here. And I even have some smaller ones. I have one from Opinel. It's a little bit smaller. It's a size 10 Opinel folding saw, typical for Opinel, and it works great. In the garden there for small stuff, it zips right through it, pruning and that sort of thing. And I suspect that's where they originally were designed for using, is out in the garden. And manufacturers out there that provide outdoor products for guys like us who like to trudge out there in the wilderness and go camp and things like that need a saw to cut up wood. So they came up with their designs, like this. And this really is an outdoor saw. This is designed for some serious work in the outdoors, and it does a really good job. And when I look at these two, just looking at them, this really, to be honest, looks flimsy. Looking at this guy, which is a little bit closer to the Gerber here, and this is the steel PS10. It's a little smaller, but it's solid. It's light. It's lighter than this one, but it feels solid. I'm not sure about this. I'm looking at, the finish of it. Here's an example here. Can you see that there? Right there, look at this. Not very impressive. And you know what? This is Gerber. And, here, look there. What's that? It sticks out. Kind of disappointing. So, having looked at the history of saws, and everything I read said people noticed a saw way back as far as the times of the Egyptians. They were using a saw, and I believe they were copper blades is what they were using. They didn't have handles. They just held the blade and used it to cut. That's where they say is as far back as it goes. So they've been around a long time, and they've obviously got better from there. We've improved them. I believe it was the Romans that actually put a handle on a saw. Another place that they came up very early, back in the 15th century, the Japanese had saws, and they obviously had handles on them and the different kinds of saws. Today, some of the most popular saws out there are Japanese. Gardening, outdoor work, even for woodworking and things like that, they have saws. So they've been around a while, and they've done a good job. No surprise there. You had the industrial era, which made making blades and handles and the actual production of the saws skyrocketed, because suddenly it was easier and quicker, and they could mass produce them. The cost dropped to make them and things like that. So just like anything, knives, whatever, guns, you name it, the industrial era really changed that, and things started to change. The main thing about saws is there's really traditionally two kinds of blades. One is a push cut, and the other one is a pull cut. And like I said earlier, if you look at, let me get the Gerber here. If you look at this blade and you look closely at the teeth, here's the front of the saw blade and the back. And if you look at the teeth there, they're actually angled back towards the handle. Immediately that tells you when you cut back with it, that's when it's the cutting stroke. The outdoor person typically uses a coarse blade. Now, when they talk coarse and fine, like I said before, here's the fine and here's the coarse, and it's pretty obvious the difference. These are deeper and bigger teeth, and there are more teeth on the fine. When they talk about blades and the information on blades, they will say things, the TPI of this blade is this, and they're talking about teeth per inch. And you can see here on the fine blade, there's going to be more teeth in 1 inch. Now, a coarse blade is really a wood saw. The problem with a coarse blade is when you use it to cut, the end result, if you look at the wood, is not a nice clean cut. It's kind of furry and things sticking out on it. It's not nice and clean. When you use a fine cut like this, the end result of that cut is going to be nice and clean. So hence, when you're cutting bone, you don't want all these chunks of bone flying everywhere, because you're using this, which is a coarse saw, and the end result of that bone cut is going to be not clean at all. You use the fine blade, you get a nice clean cut. So that's the main thing about it, and it's determined by the number of teeth in an inch. There is a general rule of thumb about how to describe a blade, depending on the number of teeth per inch. Now, what they say typically, and a good rule of thumb is, if you have a blade like this and it has 10 teeth, all the teeth, okay, including the little one, big one, little one, whatever you want to call it, you measure just put it over an inch and look at it, if I count how many teeth on it, this one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 teeth in that inch. So it's an 8 TPI. 8 TPI. That is considered a medium blade. Okay? Anything from 1 to 10 teeth within an inch is considered a medium blade. Rule of thumb. If you look at this guy, it's pretty obvious. There's a lot more than 10 teeth per inch. 13 teeth in an inch. So it's considered a fine blade, because anything more than 10 teeth in an inch is considered a fine cutting saw. So this would be good for bone wood. And really, you can use this on wood, you'll get a cleaner cut. Now, I did talk about the pull and the push of a saw on its cut. Pull cut versus push cut. What's the difference? Basically, if you think about it, when I put this in, I'm drawing it back. I'm using my shoulder, my elbow, and pulling back on it. Pulling, okay? I'm not putting any real pressure. I'm simply pulling it back. On a push saw, when you push forward like this, there's a lot more pressure on that cut, and it cuts going forward, and then you pull it back. The difference is, and they say that a push cut saw is more efficient. The problem is when you have a small saw and you get jammed, it's a little bit, it takes more power to get through and saw it, but it will cut faster because you're putting a lot more pressure on it. Pull and push cut. Well, over time, not that long ago, manufacturers figured out that they can come up with a blade that is a combination of both a push and a pull. And what that does is give you a better cut faster. You're cutting both ways, so it gives you cut through faster. And because it's a push-pull, it's going to have more teeth on the per inch. You're going to get a quicker, cleaner cut. It's not going to be as clean as a true fine blade. Typically, when you have a universal style blade, which is both push and pull cut, the cut is better than just a coarse blade, but not as good as a true fine blade pull or push cut. Now, I'm discussing saws, bladed saws. Everybody knows what a chainsaw is, okay? You put your gas in it or plug it in the wall and you fire that sucker up, and there's a chain basically on something that looks like this, except the teeth are not on the body, they're in a chain and the teeth are built into the chain. It's a saw, same thing. The same information we just talked about applies to a chainsaw. Your teeth per inch and that sort of thing. Obviously, the more powerful the motor, the better the steel on the chain and things like that. All take into account how well it performs. Then you have pocket chainsaws. This is a pocket folding saw. A pocket chainsaw is like I showed you in the last video I did on it. And simply what it is you have the chain from a chainsaw, and it just has handles on it that you can hold it like material handles, kind of like the straps you find on your backpack and things like that. You hold it and you are the power of it, and you just go back and forth on it. It's in a U, and you can zip through a piece of wood. They actually work great. I think this is a better saw. Well, I think this is a better saw because I think you have more control over it. Although I feel that pocket saw that I used did a good job. And you know what? It fits in my pocket. It takes up no room. It takes up less room than this, and it's lighter. So all the different saws out there, including the frame saws that you see. You've all seen these saws that fold down. It folds out and it has that I want to say window-shaped frame with the blade at the bottom. And it's a nice long saw, gives you a lot of power. They are great saws. And the fact that they figured out how to fold them down without tearing them apart is even better. It basically will fit into like a sling and takes up a lot less room than actually having a whole big hand bow saw. So, like I said, there are millions of saws out there. We're just talking about what we use when we're out camping or trudging around the outdoors. Because for you and me, we're looking at something for the garden. Go out there and trim off little branches to tidy up your garden. Go into the wilderness on a day hike. Stop and make a little fire so you can cook yourself something to eat. You're camping, your fire prep for heat preparation and all that stuff. This guy, we're about to go outside into the South 40 and give it a test. I'm not holding my breath, to be honest. It doesn't look clean. It does not look, the quality on it doesn't look Gerber, and that disappoints me. It's Gerber. Let's go play outside and cut some stuff. But before we do that, I wanted to talk about the sheath. And it is just a plain flat sheath like this, and it has a place for you to put it on your belt. I will say it has a double Velcro here. You have a loop, and then you have that as well. Maybe a quick way to attach to your belt or to your pack or something like that. Interesting, it has a Velcro hold together, and when you open it up, there's actually two little slim pouches. You got that one there and then this one here. Obviously you want to store your saw in it, and like I showed you before, you got to press this button and close it in. The saw should be on the outer pouch. Yep, see how it slides right in there. The inner pouch actually has sewing here, which makes the pouch thinner, which tells me the blade, put it in the plastic holder because it's going to protect you from the teeth, and that'll go, yep, right in that back pouch, just like that. And the saw will go in there, just like that. Velcro closes, and there you have it. Nice little pouch, the right size, it fits in there nice and snug, no problem. And if you're wondering how much I paid for this guy, well, that much. Surprisingly, that's pretty inexpensive from Gerber. Their pricing's a little high, and that makes me wonder about that handle. If they decided to go with a handle like that to price it more competitive, I don't know. Okay, so I'm in the South 40 here, and I've got a couple of pieces of wood, and I want to try both blades and see how it works and what the difference to the cut looks like. I'm going to start off with the fine toothed one. This is a pull saw, so on the backstroke it cuts. So here you can see how clean that cut is. It cut it really nice. I will say the handle didn't feel very good. This slot here is kind of sharp, and that's right, I could feel it on my hand. And that is a very nice clean cut. Smooth. Let's try it.
Got a couple pieces of wood, and I want to try both blades and see how it works and what the difference to the cut looks like. So that's what we're going to do now.
And now you can see we have less teeth per inch. Allegedly this will give a rougher but quicker cut, and it is still a pull blade. And there you can see it was a quicker cut. you could see it was taking a lot more material off on each pull than the other one, and a way less strokes to get through this. But you can see how the edges in that are not as clean as that side. You can see the two here, how different they are. It might not look that much different. This is a nice clean smooth cut. This is rough, so it does make a difference. Obviously, like I was saying, in bushcraft and things like that, we're not so concerned rather than having a clean cut, but a quick cut, especially if you're making something that you need in an emergency, as quickly and safely as possible to get yourself out of trouble. The outdoor camping genre, if you want to call it that, this blade will be more popular. Less teeth per inch and much more aggressive, quick and dirty. This blade will produce a cleaner, nicer looking cut for finer work. I'm going to go and cut some green wood and see how it does. So like I said before, I have some trees on the edge of the South 40, and the problem I'm having is that when I mow the grass, the little branches on the lower part of the trees are getting in the way, and I want to trim them out of the way. And the tree is growing, so it's being shaded by the other trees. These branches are not going to do as well. They're constantly fighting for sunlight, that sort of thing. In Minnesota, there's not much of that anyway, so what little they can get, they fight for. These branches won't do as well as the higher ones, so I just want to trim it down. It is wet, they're not very big, and I'm going to use the aggressive saw and see how it does. Pretty quick. Not a big branch, not a heavy branch, probably about an inch thick. Not bad, but look at the cut. See how rough that cut looks? That's the aggressive blade. Does it matter? I don't think so. It does the job I want it to do. So this will do the job. Like I said, I like the blades on this. I like the idea of the changing of the blades. Gerber could have done a better job with the handle. It is not a comfortable handle at all. Too sharp here. Yeah, it's plastic, so whatever it is, I'm just going to have to clean up those edges so they're not so sharp. But it would do the job. For the price, with two different blades, for whatever you need, not bad. Just a little, they could have done a better job with this. One thing about that I did find out about saws, and that is, if you look at the shape of this, it's curved. And if you're wondering about that, when you are cutting, as you pull back, you're putting more pressure on the frontier because of the curve. You keep your hand straight, but the curve is going down and gives you a little bit more pressure as you cut with that curve. Now you can get them where the blade position is adjustable. It kind of sits there, which makes the whole saw flat. That's coming up in a video soon. I did find a saw that gave you two positions when you open it. Interesting to see how that works. Have to find out why. So there you have it, campers, the Gerber Exchange blade. I like the idea of having that option to change your blade depending on what cut you want and the result you want. For the outdoors, for camping and that sort of thing, I think that the more teeth per inch is not really necessary for us. But I think for somebody who's doing gardening, pruning, that sort of thing, you want a nice cleaner cut. Even doing chores or making something at home, you want it to look nicer. You're going to use that smaller tooth and more teeth per inch. Whereas the other one is much more aggressive and gets through the job a lot quicker. The end result is not as pretty. It's really designed for cutting across the grain. You can use it to cut with the grain, and you will get a slightly better cut out of it. But the other one will give you a nice clean cut either way. What do I think of this? I like it. It's a nice sheath. The blades are great. Just kind of disappointed in the handle. I think they could have done a better job. Where they came up with the waffle grip, I don't know what that's all about, but I'm not impressed with it. It wasn't that comfortable. Now, between you and me, I never wore gloves, and let me tell you, it's sharp and shiny. You're going to be using a saw, wear gloves. So that would certainly help with the handle. You're not going to get all those little edgy pieces cutting into your fingers or anything like that on the handle. Easy enough to fix. You could clean it up, a little bit of sandpaper, and just get away from those little edges. My issue is, I think Gerber dropped the ball on that one. Not only with the design, but with quality control. That's just me. Anywho, don't forget now, like, share, subscribe. You know the story. Pretty sure I'm going to be back with another saw. In fact, I know I am. And I'm going to look at them a little bit deeper. I want to find out and see what's out there. If I'm going to use a tool, I want to know more about it. Just saying. Thanks for watching. And you all be safe out there, even with these little teeth sharp and shinies. Take care now.